My name's Michael Hamway. Um, I, gosh, it's so funny when someone asks you to talk about yourself and suddenly everything goes blank. I've been acting for about 6 years. Is that right? What year are we in now? Oh gosh, no, longer than that.
Yeah.
8 years. Um, I graduated Royal Academy of Music in 2015. Uh, my background was very much in sort of the British choral tradition, and then fairly late on, I decided that I wanted to try acting, and music was my way in. Um, and yeah, I've been fortunate enough to kind of stay in work pretty much since graduating. And this is my third West End show. I did Waitress and Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cinderella. Uh, and now I'm on the Choir of Man, which is a really fun, energetic, and unique show in its conception and execution. And I think really the main thing that makes it that is that although we sort of play roles, the show Choir of Man is set in a pub called the Jungle, and it's sort of loosely an exploration of masculinity and what it means to be a man having male friends um, in today's climate. The creator, Nick Dudson slash producer and director, he found, I think he wouldn't mind me saying this, but his experience of having male friends has never been one of, laddie, alpha male one-upmanship or anything. It's always been intimacy and, hard times and good times. And he just wanted to portray that on stage as best he could. And so he came up with this show, and with the help of a wonderful creative team, created this sort of, it's really hard to describe, but it's
Yeah.
almost like a kind of a cappella concert review style kind of. It kind of flirts with like cabaret style a little bit. But essentially I play the poet who's like the narrator, and the thing that, as I was saying before, the thing that makes the show unique is that although we play these characters, which are sort of pub archetypes, you have, the poet, the bore, the hopeless romantic, the barman, the hard man, the handyman,
Yeah.
um, but we bring ourselves to the role. So we are ourselves. Our names are our own. Our stories are our own. And there's a really wonderful section in the show called the home section where we talk about what home means to each of us. And it's very much, it's all accurate information and stories from our own lives. And it's really fun because the audience, you can tell that they're kind of thinking, oh, is that real? Is that not real? I'm not sure. I've had people already ask me. I've only done 3 shows or whatever.
Yeah.
People have already said, oh, is that really true what you said about this? And we always go, yeah, no, it is us. And it really means that you get a sense of authenticity and sincerity that you otherwise might not get. So yeah, it's lovely. And then the other thing that makes it fun is that there's a working pub on stage, and the audience comes up and gets pints early on, and
Yeah.
it fosters this sense of camaraderie and friendship with everyone in the theatre, in the pub.
And then what's it like for you as an actor, as you say, when you come out of shows like Waitress and Cinderella, then you are kind of almost putting yourself on stage in this?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I actually find it a bit easier.
Yeah.
um, I don't know if that's the right word, but it's sort of different enough. I'm not really comparing the two, if I'm honest with you.
No, yeah.
It's a really different thing when you're playing a totally different character, and you have to have different mannerisms and different ways of walking or talking, and it's all preset material that you're learning and trying to bring yourself to, but you really, you have to remain faithful to the original source material as best you can. In a show like this, there's something, I'm surprised at how relaxed I've been,
Yeah.
especially seeing as this is way more dialogue, way more, or I guess monologuing really,
Yeah.
that I'm used to. And yeah, it's liberating actually. I've never been in a position before where I've been, you know, essentially in control or been the one communicating with an audience. And I was quite nervous about it, if I'm honest, when we first started, because there are moments in the show where I have to sort of just, you know, because it's all written poetry by this wonderful writer called Ben Norris, who originated the role of poet. So I am still, you know, speaking the same words that have been spoken before, but my poet is different to everyone else's poet. And being able to be myself on stage, it gives you a kind of freedom with how you interact with people. Which is really, really nice.
And obviously, as you touched on there, the kind of interactive element, obviously the bar and the show quite itself during the show is quite interactive with the audience. How do you kind of prepare for that? And as you say, kind of you've done kind of performances now, but how do you prepare for that before you get on stage?
Well, I think the answer to that is that you can't.
Yeah.
You know, you can run things and rehearse things as much as you like, but until you have an audience in the room, there's nothing you can do to prepare yourself, because the people who are watching as you do runs, who are the creative team and, you know, other people in the theatre, they've all seen the show hundreds of times before. You know, they're not going to laugh in the same places. They're not going to, you know, and so it can be a little bit tough. And there are sort of things you can do, like you can build yourself a framework for specific moments. So if there's a moment where we're, you know, giving out pints to the audience and I have to fill some time and patter and all that stuff, you can have certain frameworks, things you can say, you know, if someone puts up their hand, you can reference being at school and putting up their hand, or, you know, you can say, make sure you get them to the back row. But nothing will prepare you for that moment when someone on the front row, you know, stands up and like shouts at you or something. Or, I mean, we had someone, it was only the second show we did. I think it was Wednesday. She came up on stage for one of the numbers and she did a spit take, which was unexpected. And we all had to deal with that, you know, suddenly, and that's apparently like never happened before. And this was our second show of this contract. And so suddenly we were all scrabbling around trying to figure out how to get to the next number and to like wipe up the floor and stuff. But yeah, so there's always things unexpected, but essentially you can't prepare for those moments. You just have to have a go.
And I guess similarly, obviously, as you say there's kind of a lot of on stage liquid, as you say. How do you kind of obviously how would you balance that kind of, because obviously I've seen the show twice and it's free flowing, let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's free flowing. That's very well put. I mean, you just have to be careful, really, and accept that you might get covered in, you know, in what did you call it? So liquid? What's
liquid,
it?
just liquid, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you might. Yeah, I mean, we have bottles on stage, and as well as mugs, and we're dancing and moving around, so stuff gets spilt all the time. So yeah, you just have to be aware of it. If something happens, you know, we have rags and cloths in the table and on stage that we can get out and just wipe. I think we have some mops and things that we use. But the great thing about the show is that actually there's no massive pressure to do everything by numbers at all. So if something happens, the show is designed for us to be able to just react to it honestly and improvise around it. And it hasn't been a problem yet, but then I've only done 3 shows. So you know, give it a few months and we'll see.
Fingers crossed. But as you say, kind of that almost improvisation you've got, if something does go wrong, is that kind of relaxing for a performer, that say if something happens in this kind of environment, you've kind of got that group of mates that can help you get through it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the level of support is kind of unparalleled, because it's such a non-stop show. I mean, it's full on energy and singing and moving for 90 minutes straight, basically. And it really fosters the way the rehearsal process works, and just the nature of the show fosters this sense of camaraderie and support that's unlike any other. So you know that everyone is behind you 100%. But it also matters how you deal with it, because this is our pub, you know, this is our regular, our local, we come here all the time. This is the conceit, obviously, of the show. We come here all the time, and this is This is our home. So you have to behave like that.
Yeah.
So if you give anything away, and the audience senses your kind of relinquishing or lack of power, then that's when things start to struggle. So I had a moment in the first show, second show. It might have been the first show, actually. Yeah, it was the first show. It's opening night.
Yeah.
Where I got one of the guys' names wrong in the home section. And it's never happened before. And it happened so early on. And I corrected myself. Oh, no, sorry. And I said the name. And then I just thought, oh, God. And I just put my head in my hands and everyone started laughing. And you just have to own that moment.
Yeah.
And then spin it to your advantage. And you know that all the guys behind you are absolutely willing you on. And they're also ready to help you if you need a little push or you need support in whatever way that comes. Everyone is behind everyone. It's really wonderful.
Yes. One thing we haven't really touched on is obviously the music in the show. I'm going to throw you some very sort of random questions now. I've based these on the song titles, but they don't always work, so just bear with it.
Okay. Let's try.
Wake Me Up, obviously one of the early songs in the show. What is your go-to breakfast?
Whoa. Okay. So I love breakfast. This is a great question. First of all, I'll have a oat milk latte. I'm a sucker for oat milk these days. I'm doing decaf at the moment. And then it's a perfect question for me because I have a very specific breakfast that I make when I want to have breakfast.
Yeah.
And it is poached eggs with avocado and smoked salmon on either just brown toast or like a cinnamon and raisin bagel. It just hits the spot. It's really, really nice. It can be a little bit of a fast, but that's my go-to breakfast with some chili flakes and maybe some Tabasco or something. If not, then just like cereal, Cocoa Pop.
Yeah, I'm in. The Impossible Dream / Teenage Dream, both songs about dream. But when you were younger, what were your kind of dreams for when you were growing up?
Whoa. Man, this is a hard question. I don't really know, if I'm honest with you. Like, I think I always knew what my dreams. Like, a part of me always knew that I wanted to act, but that it never seemed like a real possibility. So I guess that was kind of a pipe dream at the time. I don't know if that counts. I honestly don't know how to answer that question, unfortunately, because I didn't really have, massive overarching dreams as a kid that I can remember. I mean, I might, go ask my family and say, what are you talking about? You want to do this and that and that. But I was just quite happy pottering along.
Yes. Then obviously Escape, the Pina Colada song. What is your favorite drink?
Whoa. Okay. My favorite cocktail is the Negroni. It's just a killer, but when it's made right, it's like the perfect combination of flavor, and it's just really, really nice. Otherwise, like I tend to just be a beer guy. Favorite beer is Neck Oil, which is increasingly more expensive now. Sometimes it's like £8 now for a pint of it in central London, which is just bonkers.
Yeah, mad.
But yeah, so that's probably what I go for. I I love an espresso martini if I'm feeling sluggish.
Yes. 500 miles. If you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go to right now?
Right now?
Right now.
That's a great question. A few options to this. I have a friend in LA that I haven't seen for a very long time who I'd love to visit. I've never been to Australia or in fact, New Zealand. I'd love to visit New Zealand. That would be amazing. Yes. This is a cop-out. I'm just giving you loads of different answers.
It's all good.
I'd love to visit. I don't know if it's somewhere I'd like to go right now, but I'd really like to visit Cairo. Because that's where my grandfather grew up. That's where he's from. So I'd love to see Cairo and see his old house and stuff. But right now, that would be, I think, maybe Australia or New Zealand or LA or
all of them, just all of them.
Yeah, no, that's a cop out. Sorry.
It's all good. Some nights, how do you wind down after performance?
That's a great question. I It depends what I'm doing. So if we're back in work the next day, then really it's just go home,
Yeah.
try and rest the voice, spend time with my girlfriend, watch TV, play video games. I love video games. So I'm playing the new Zelda at the moment, which is it's awesome. Eat something, because often the way our days are structured means that we can't really eat meals at regular times. So often I'll be really hungry when I get home. Read a book.
Yeah.
Although sometimes after a show I'm so knackered I can't really concentrate on words.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yes. You're the voice. Who are your favorite singers / bands?
Ooh. So I grew up on my family introduced me to like the Spice Girls super early. I think my first mixtape from my sister was a Spice Girls mixtape.
Yeah.
But I was brought up on the Beatles and Queen and stuff. But actually, the stuff that I really started enjoying when I was in my teens and starting to develop my taste was kind of more singer-songwriter stuff like Jason Mraz or John Mayer or Ben Folds. But then the people I always come back to, like I still have like phases where I don't listen to them very much, but I mean the classics, Stevie Wonder is always on a playlist and it's I would say my go-to tends to be sort of singer-songwritery stuff. Yeah, I'd say that's probably accurate.
This is a different question to what I was going to ask anyway. Just following up, like obviously
Okay.
when you're in theatre, can you actually listen like to this sort of show where it's like a jukebox show? Can you actually listen to those songs out of context when you're kind of?
That's a good question. So yeah, it is because it's a jukebox musical. I guess it is jukebox show. I guess it's different because it's the songs have meaning before we go into the show and they'll have meaning after. So the meaning might be changed for some of the songs, but I don't know if any of them are going to be like ruined in inverted commas.
Yeah.
I mean, the songs are all so great and they're so much fun to sing. So yeah, I don't know. I think they can absolutely still say. I mean, one of the songs. This is embarrassing, but one of the songs I hadn't even heard before we started the show, which is 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover by Paul Simon.
Yeah.
Which since had people tell me, what are you talking about? Like everyone knows that song, and that's now something I'm going to add to songs that I like to listen to. But other ones like John Farnham, You're the Voice and stuff is always a banger.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm trying to think of other sort of favorite singers I have. My brain always goes pretty blank whenever people ask questions like that, so I apologize. But I'm sure as soon as this thing ends, I'll be like, oh,
there's too many. It's like when you say what's your favorite film. There's too many, isn't there?
There are a lot.
Going back to the questions, the parting glass, one of the kind of highlights of the show. People haven't seen it. What is the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Whoa. Whoa. The best piece of advice I've ever been given. You know what? This is probably paraphrasing, but it's something along the lines of like, it's okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just okay. Like I'm an overthinker and so, there's been a lot of times in my life where I'm freaking out because I think I've done something wrong or I'm worried about the consequences of something. And like, really, it's okay. It's being yourself is fine. And not everyone's going to like you for it. And some people are going to, dislike you or whatever. And that's okay. It's hard in this business because you're sort of programmed to give too much of a four-letter word
Yeah.
about what people think of you, because that's how you sell yourself and that's how you get employed. And it can be really tricky because you start basing your self-worth on what other people think of you and how you come across. And actually, this is only relatively recently that I've sort of broken the back of this issue in my head. But essentially, it's just like it's okay. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to say the wrong thing. What matters is how you learn from it and approach it going forward. So that is a long-winded answer, but I think that's probably the best piece of advice I've been given.
This may be slightly similar, but bring tomorrow on, the last one. What keeps you inspired?
Ooh. What keeps me inspired? I assume you mean professionally.
Yeah. Like, obviously, going to be well.
Man, I think it's the desire to contribute meaningfully in some way and bring joy to people's lives. People take theatre really seriously often, and sometimes that's absolutely right. But
yeah,
for me, like I used to have this thing in my head where I was like, this job is a means to an end to get the next job, and climb. And I realized that actually I wasn't really appreciating the jobs I had for what they were as I had them.
Yeah.
Which doesn't mean I'm not still, ambitious or whatever, but this job I took for very specific reasons, because it is earnest, it is heartfelt, it is joyful. God, is it fun? And for a lot of people, theatre is an escape. It's an outlet. It's so I think what keeps me inspired is expression, artistic expression. The desire to provide people with joy. I can't remember what else I said, but yeah. I mean, I'll tell you one thing that is. Yeah, I mean, part of it, genuinely, this is a bit of a wavy one, but part of me is still sort of chasing that artistic expression, which is not always that easy to come by, actually, ironically. But I mean, also selfishly, a selfish aspect of this is that I want to have fun.
Yeah, of course.
and I recognize that I'm really lucky, and I'm lucky enough to be doing a job that I find fun and that I love doing. But very few people get to do that. So yeah, if you can piece together some form of coherent answer from that word babble, then I'll be impressed.
I shall. Then my final question for you: why should anyone come and see The Choir of Men?
Wow. Because it is a really, really good time. Because it is, equal parts just fun and energy and camaraderie and heartfelt, emotion. And because there's no other show like it. We are ourselves on stage telling you about our lives and singing some really, really great songs, and you get beer. So,
win-win. Yeah. Well, The Choir of Men continues at the Arts Theatre in London. And Michael, thank you for your time today. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.